Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us. Mosso at the1916company.com. It is in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Reach out to us directly, Mosso at the1916company.com. I would say that 10 years ago, Tudor probably couldn't have done this watch, not credibly. But today, Tudor is riding high. As a brand, it's now considered to be more than just the younger sister to Rolex. It's considered to be a collection theme, an end in itself. And thus, in 2021, the upwardly mobile Tudor brand launched this, the Black Bay 58 18 karat. 18 karat yellow gold in the Black Bay 58 package. It is a beautifully heritage-inspired upscale take on the watch that built the modern house of Tudor, the Black Bay. So, being a Black Bay 58, it's smaller. So 39 millimeters in diameter in 18 karat yellow gold. You could see two different ways to measure this. 12.9 millimeters thick if you put it on a conventional strap. This underslung textile adds some thickness to make it 14 millimeters thick. From lug tip to lug tip, 47.7 millimeters and a 20 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Now I'm going to throw it on my wrist. There are a couple of different ways to own this watch. It is more recently available on a full matching bracelet. You've also probably seen it on leather. Textile is probably the most rustic and offers a nice thematic contrast with the richness of the gold. You can see how it's short across the wrist, making this watch suitable for a wrist as small, in my estimation, as 13.5 centimeters circumference. So while it may not be intended as a unisex watch, it certainly works out that way. And though it does have a sheer side, it will fit underneath a dress cuff, so being upscale and somewhat formal in gold, you could definitely wear it with formal attire. Now, the strap is not like a conventional NATO. It's not as thick, and it uses conventional perforations and a pin buckle, so there's no gooseneck closure system to add a lot of thickness or bulk. And when it's on the wrist, it mostly wears like a watch on a conventional strap. That said, because it is underslung, you will need to remove the spring bars if you wish to dismount it. The hardware, likewise, in a beautiful brushed satin yellow gold. Note the faceting. What class! And then we have the buckle itself, which you will note features a little profile designed to evoke the Tudor shield logo, which you will find on the dial. That is the mid-1968 and forward Tudor logo. The mid-1968 and back to the 50s and 40s logo would be the rose. So here's the older logo, here's the newer logo. This is something you see on some in-house caliber Tudor watches like the Black Bays. So you've got this little buckle here, so you don't have to worry about fiddling as you would on a NATO. You've got a regular pin buckle and a perforated strap. And of course, this is a Tudor factory strap with no crimping, no gouging. The case is simple. We have these little bevels, a nostalgic nod to the era when Rolex and Tudor cases were always shared, and they both featured hand-laid bevels. Everything's brushed, though, to give it a subdued look. I think that's a good decision. The only polish, if you look very carefully, is on the mounting cup for the bezel pearl. If this were polished, it would be overpowering. You can see pre-owned watch. There are some marks of use on here. Nothing too extreme, however, just some small marks to show that this is a previously loved watch. You can't even see them from every angle. Now, the watch does have a relatively flat bezel profile with an aluminum insert, and the aluminum gives it a little bit more of a vintage vibe. We do have a 60-click bezel. Rolex bezels tend to be 120 click, whereas something like a Black Bay is going to be 60. So it's got a nice chunky action to it. But the knurling is an absolute pleasure. A micro toothing profile, almost like coining. It makes for a very easy grip, even if your hands are wet, sweaty, or gloved. Now, I love dive bezels because I find them preferable to chronographs. They're easier to read. They make it easier to judge the time between 30 and 60 minutes, because most chronos only have a 30-minute register. And then they don't have the downstream service costs of a chronograph, so you can keep time quite easily using a dive bezel. Of course, this one featuring a 0 to 60 minute count up. You can see that the hands are designed to evoke the late 60s to mid 70s Tudor Snowflake Submariners. That's where that design comes from. And it does feature a luminescent second sand, which I like on a diver because you need to know in the dark and in the depths if your dive timer is running. Screw down crown, 200-meter water resistance. Note the nostalgic vintage-inspired chapter ring in gilt or golden print. Everything on the dial is gilt or golden print. A very upscale dial, though, compared to a historical Tudor sub because all of the indices are applique rather than printed. There is a bubble-like sapphire designed to evoke a vintage plexiglass. Not a whole lot to see through the case back. You can see that the movement itself is rather rustic. It's technically proficient, that is the MT5400, but in terms of actual finish, I would describe it as sufficient and utilitarian. Technically, however, it is a very impressive movement. One of the nice things about Tudor creating the Black Bay 58 series is they created its own smaller movement series, shelving the MT5600 that you'll find on the larger Black Bays and the Pelagos. They introduced the MT5400. It has the same tech specs, it's just thinner and smaller in diameter. Automatic winding, bidirectional with a 70-hour power reserve, features hacking seconds, a 4 Hz beat rate, 5-position adjustment, a COSC Swiss chronometer certification. It's braced against shock courtesy of a full balance bridge and a free sprung balance, which also makes for very precise adjustment, and it has an anti-magnetic silicone hair spring. Lots to love from the compact powerhouse MT5400, which is a Tudor Kinesi movement, so a movement designed within the extended Tudor company for Tudor's use. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.